Tomorrow, the Senate will confirm Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court, filling the seat vacated by the late Justice Ginsburg with a very worthy successor. When President Trump nominated Judge Barrett last month, some Americans questioned whether the Senate should confirm any nominee to the Supreme Court. But today, just weeks later, a clear majority of Americans support confirmation, including a majority of independents. What happened? It's very simple. Americans met Judge Barrett, they loved what they saw, and they decided she's the right woman for this job. Consider her achievements. She graduated #1 in her class from Notre Dame Law School, where she also edited the Law Review and later clerked for two giants of our judiciary, Judge Silberman of the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals and the late, great Justice Scalia. Years later, Judge Barrett returned to her alma mater as a professor, where she won the esteem of her students and colleagues as a gifted teacher and an absolutely brilliant legal scholar, to quote the Dean of Notre Dame Law. Then, in 2017, the Senate confirmed Professor Barrett to be Judge Barrett on the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. In the 3 years since then, she has established herself as one of America's finest judges, unwaveringly committed to the rule of law and equality before the law. Scalia protege, beloved professor, respected jurist. Those titles alone warrant Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation to the Supreme Court, but they're not her only achievements, or even the most important ones. In addition to those things, she has a big and beautiful family with a devoted husband and 7 kids, including 2 adopted from Haiti. They are a family knitted together by love and faith. Any parent knows how difficult it must be for Judge Barrett to juggle the demands of her work with her duties as a parent and a wife. But like millions of working moms, she manages to do both with incredible skill, grace, and poise. I suspect I must confess that if Judge Barrett had been nominated by a president without an R behind his name, the media would laud her as a pioneer, an inspiration to young women all across the country. Today's newspapers would contain front-page stories of gushing profiles studded with words like iconic and path-breaking. The media would practically carry her from the Judiciary Committee to this floor so we could vote to confirm her, and then they would carry her across the street to her Supreme Court chambers. But curiously, I've noticed that's not what the media is doing, not in the least. Instead, the liberal media has published lurid insinuations and exposés about everything from Judge Barrett's character to her Christian faith to even her adopted children. It's the Brett Kavanaugh playbook all over again, but thankfully the American people see through it just as they did the last time. For the most part, Democrats on the Judiciary Committee avoided these kinds of low personal attacks. Perhaps they've seen the polling, so they know they're playing a very weak hand. Instead, they focus on the supposed threat that Judge Barrett will overturn Obamacare and take away your health care. In fact, they focused on Obamacare so much during Judge Barrett's confirmation hearing, when I turned on the TV, I thought I'd tuned in to the Health Committee, not the Judiciary Committee. But Democrats' attacks on this policy fall just as flat as the media's shameful stories on Judge Barrett's character, for the simple reason that Judge Barrett, as a judge, does not make policy. She's not a senator. She's not standing for elective office. I suspect she wouldn't want to. Her role as a judge is to interpret and apply the law fairly and faithfully without regard to her own beliefs and convictions. Now, that may be a novel concept for our Democratic friends who view the judiciary as simply another means to advance their left-wing agenda, irrespective of the law and the facts. But it's central to Judge Barrett's record on the Court of Appeals and her judicial philosophy. Her opinions bear that out. as she has applied the law consistently, without fear or favor on the federal bench, and I suspect reached a few outcomes on a personal level that she would have preferred not to, which was always Justice Scalia's gold standard for an impartial and fair judge. That leaves the Democrats with one final argument, nothing more than a process argument. They say that the Republicans are moving too quickly, that we're somehow ramming Judge Barrett through the Senate, possibly to prevent an adequate examination of her record. But of course, this argument fails too, and it fails badly. Judge Barrett's nomination has proceeded at a pace in line with other recent nominations. Exactly 30 days ago, she was nominated, and tomorrow she'll be confirmed. That's 11 more days than the Senate deliberated on the nomination of Justice John Paul Stevens, who was confirmed after just 19 days. It's only 12 fewer days than the Senate deliberated on the nomination of Justice Ginsburg herself. And I would note that we went through this with Judge Barrett barely 3 years ago. It had been 5 years for then Judge Stevens. It had been 13 years for then Judge Ginsburg. There's not a lot of material for this Senate to have reviewed. Less than 3 years of activities by Judge Barrett, fewer than 100 opinions. Even a senator could probably get through those in a couple days. Yet the Democrats have repeatedly asked for delay after delay, though they haven't identified any area in which they lacked adequate time to review a nomination. They haven't identified any bit of information that they don't already have. In fact, some of my Democratic colleagues announced their opposition to her nomination, or any nominee for that matter, before she was even announced as the nominee. So what do they want more time for exactly, except to stall? Indeed, far from being rushed, Judge Barrett's nomination doesn't come close to setting the record for speed. That distinction belongs to Justice James Burns, who was nominated to the Supreme Court in 1941 by President Franklin Delano Roosevelt and confirmed later that day. I guess we could have taken a page from the Democrats' playbook by confirming Judge Barrett last month on the day that she was confirmed. But instead, we took the same careful, consistent, deliberative approach that we took with Justice Kavanaugh and Justice Gorsuch. No shortcuts, no corners cut, no steps skipped. So finally, here we are on the cusp of Judge Barrett's confirmation. As a result, the Democrats are threatening to pack the court. But they were already threatening to pack the court. The Democrats are threatening, should we confirm Judge Barrett to the Supreme Court, to riot in the streets. Democrats have been rioting in the streets for months. But as the sun sets tomorrow, the Senate will gather, and all of that bluster will once again prove ineffective. Because Judge Barrett has earned the trust and confidence of the American people and the United States Senate. For that reason, Judge Barrett will be confirmed tomorrow night. I congratulate Judge Barrett on this high honor, and I thank her family, her beloved husband Jesse, and her 7 beautiful children, for sharing her with America. For those 7 kids especially, I know she will always be mom to you, but I trust you won't object if we know her as Justice. Mr. President, I yield the floor.